There you go. Yes.
The PC World, final PC World meeting of the year at 4, so we have to be done by like 3:30, 3:45.
Got it. Yeah. Everyone live knows that. We have a
final
meeting. Can they show up to the
Hello,
meeting?
everybody.
Yeah. Can they show up to the final PC World meeting?
Can you just say the link out loud, please,
Yeah.
Brad? That'd be great.
Just put the link down in the comments.
Put it in the chat.
Everyone show up.
PS://
Yeah.
It's esky.app/Brad Turkis.
There we go. I see what he
What a
did.
plug.
Look at that, Brad. Hello, internet. I can see we're live. Yep, I am actually muted.
I see you.
I just unmuted myself, so I kind of did it the wrong way.
Classic.
Hello, we're here. The Full Nerd. This is the pre-show of the Full Nerd. Podcast about PC building stuff. We were just before we went live. We were talking to Elena about her awesome sweater.
My Christmas sweater
that she got for free, which makes it even more awesome.
That's the best Christmas sweater ever.
Yeah. How come you get the best Christmas sweaters? I want to know.
I don't know. I actually, and they're all too large for me. So like this one, as you can see, is only moderately too large for me. But the Be Quiet one that I'll wear next week and everybody loves is definitely too large for me.
Well, the like an ill-fittingness is an important part of a Christmas sweater. Like it should either be too tight or way too big. I
kind of agree. Yeah. Because you're not wearing it for comfort. You're wearing it for the cool looks.
I was in Vancouver this weekend, and they had a Christmas market, which is apparently a thing in not America. And
great. I love them.
It was amazing. It was so good. I've never been to one before like this.
You really? Oh, I thought you were joking.
No, like, do we have that here? I've never seen that. Like, we have the Dickens Fair, which is like
fantastic.
Yeah, it's so good.
So good.
Yeah, food, drinks. There was a Christmas sweater booth where they had just a rack of like kind of a mishmash of all sorts of different terrible Christmas sweaters. It was really good.
Well, but I heard you had a problem getting over the border.
Okay, so I haven't driven across the border since 9/11. It turns out.
Oh,
Never forget.
Well, I fly, so I take airplanes across borders generally because civilization. So we flew into Seattle because there's more flights into Seattle than Vancouver. We were worried about weather when we booked flights, and we drove across the border, and the Canadians were like, "Hey, you all don't have any guns or booze, do you?" And I was like, these are reasonable questions to ask, right?
I mean, especially for an American.
Yeah, I was like, no, I don't have any guns or booze
that you know of.
No tobacco either. And then they did the thing where they like asked me, and then they talked to me for a minute casually, and then they were like, "What about guns? You got guns?" I was like, "No guns. Still no guns. I'm cool."
Oh, he's trying to trick you.
Yeah, she was hardcore.
I was like, what gave it away?
Clever.
Yeah, but then on the way back, we were like, I went to the Taylor Swift concert in Vancouver this weekend. Because my wife got fan lottery tickets. We were able to buy face value tickets, which was incredible.
Yeah, that's winning the lottery.
It was literally winning the lottery. But so we drove back on Monday after the show, and when we were coming to the American customs, the Americans were kind of like we went late in the day because we didn't have a flight to catch that day. And the American customs people were kind of broken because it had been tens of thousands of Swifties coming through all day. And when we got there, the guy saw like the glitter glued on my face. And he was like, "So you all went to the Taylor Swift show, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "It was pretty good, right?" I was like, "Yeah, it was pretty good." And then he was like, "What? Do you have anything to declare?" And I was like, we bought some Taylor Swift merch and like $30 worth of chocolate." He was like, "Man, you don't have any Kinder eggs, do you?" Yeah.
What?
He asked you specifically.
Yeah, he was
if you
like,
had Kinder eggs.
You're not bringing
Like he
Kinder
knew.
eggs in. I was like, "No, man, we're clean." She ate them in the car before we crossed the border.
Oh man, you almost got busted. Wow.
I know.
Dude. Man, how do you think they listened to the podcast and they just assumed that you had Kinder eggs on you?
I just said $30 worth of chocolate, and he was like, "Kinder eggs. You don't have Kinder eggs, man." They have different shapes of Kinder eggs too.
Dude.
They had like a Kinder Snowman, a Kinder Santa Claus.
That Taylor Swift weekend would have been exponentially more expensive if you got it busted.
I could have been in the big house.
Wait. Did you secretly have any on you?
No, man. I'm not bringing Kinder eggs across. Sorry.
Sorry. What are you watching?
I don't want to go to jail, man.
Man, I mean, Kinder eggs. It's such a big problem. Like border crossing guards are actually screening for them right now.
So
of all things,
a few weeks ago, you guys smuggled some Kinder eggs back in, and I gave one to my daughter who'd never had a real Kinder egg before. She just had the sad American version.
Yeah.
And when she was
not the same thing.
When I gave it to her, I was like, "Okay, you got to go easy eating this because like if you eat this and die, it's going to be the end of Kinder Eggs in America forever. Like, we're never going to get them here.
Yes. You'll be like, oh, see, this is why they're illegal.
Yeah. And you don't want to prove them right that Americans are too stupid to eat Kinder Eggs safely. So she was like tapped it like she was eating a hard-boiled egg or soft-boiled egg or something, and like tapped it and broke it and was peeling it. I was like,
what's that thing where you put the egg in the little
that's
dish
a
thing?
egg in a cup.
No.
Soft-boiled egg.
I thought they had a name for it.
Soft-boiled egg.
It's just soft-boiled egg.
Soft-boiled
Where you
egg.
like crack it and then you
scoop the
scoop
top
it with
off
the-
and
just
then
call
salt
it-
and pepper.
I thought that had a name.
It's called soft-boiled.
Okay, whatever.
Right? Soft-boiled?
I don't remember.
Okay.
We
Anyway.
have one though. We just haven't used it yet.
Yeah.
Well, so she ate it like that.
So she started it like that. I was like, you can go a little harder than that. It's going to be okay.
That's great.
Well, you gotta
I
wait
love that
easy.
she listens to you. She's still at that age that she listens to you.
Look, I'm still cool for another year or maybe two at the outside. She wasn't embarrassed to be at a concert.
I think we
with
should
her
call
mom
her
and
up and
dad.
ask her if she can confirm the.
I'm not
this. I mean, this is like secondhand information
I'm not-
here. I'm not trying to question things.
Nope, I'm not living my daughter into
Except
the
I'm gonna
podcast.
call.
That's a bad idea.
Wait, Will, I have a question for you.
Yes, hi.
So how much more intense is border crossing from Canada to US versus when you go from Nevada back into California? They're like, do you have any agriculture to declare? And you're like, I bought a banana at Safeway.
Oh,
But I ate it immediately.
So Elena, one time when I was driving back from Tennessee, I had a bushel of tomatoes in the back of the moving truck
Why?
because they were.
Why?
It was tomato season. and
Specifically a bushel?
It was
ask.
like it was a big crate.
Don't
and I
ask.
love tomatoes.
Don't
and
ask.
it was good tomatoes, and they were like it was like $6, but it was like $1,000 of California tomatoes. So I got in here, and I got to the border. I never crossed the border into California before, and I was like, what the hell is this? This is crazy. and they were like, hey, do you know any produce to declare? And like I'm sitting in the car, the whole car reeks of tomatoes because like it's 95 degrees outside. They've been in the sun. We've driven for 44 days. Right, the tomatoes are very ripe, and I was like,
Did you look him dead in the eye and
Dead
you
in the
said
eye,
and you said no,
no tomatoes.
no tomatoes.
No, why do you ask? And they were like, okay, go on. And I rolled on.
Man,
Oh my
you
God,
are a
this is the reason
criminal.
why
Look
our
at that.
tomato
Yeah,
industry is dead now.
the chat
Yep.
is saying you are a criminal.
California has agricultural border crossings because I believe like the agricultural valley, the San Joaquin Valley, is separated by like desert and high and like the Eastern Sierras and all that stuff, and the Mojave basically keep that isolated from the rest of the country. So we have different agricultural pests that they don't want to bring into California, like I probably did. Like they don't want to bring tomato blight and stuff like that.
I want to know.
That's so weird to me.
Yeah.
I want to know which is the higher charge for getting busted, having Kinder Eggs on you crossing the border or produce.
I didn't look it up because I didn't want it in my Google history, but I'm pretty sure they just make you throw away. I'm pretty sure they just make you throw
you
away
just
the
turn it
Kinder
over
Eggs.
at the gate. But
And then they
Yeah.
smash it right in front of you. They're like, we're going to take each tomato and just throw it on the ground
Yeah.
while you're watching.
it's like when you try to bring beef jerky back into the country,
Wait, you can't
like
bring-
I did by
You
accident.
can't
I
bring
lost
beef
that.
jerky?
meat.
I forgot.
No.
I
meat-based
forgot. You
products,
can't do
yeah.
that.
Oh wow.
It was
Yeah.
sad.
Wow.
Just as illegal as Kinder Eggs. Yeah.
I just my daughter was like, "Can I keep the toy that she got in the Kinder Egg that we got while we were still in
They
Canada?"
confiscated the toy.
No,
Wow.
they didn't. They
Oh,
didn't.
they should have.
I was like, I think it's probably okay to bring the toy in. Just don't eat it.
Well, so technically you did lie then. You said, do you have any Kinder Eggs on you?
I told her. I specifically told the customs person. I was like, border control. I was like, she ate them in Canada, and he's like, that's totally legal.
Well, if it's just,
Well, but kept the toy. Did you say keep the toy?
I didn't. He didn't ask about the toy, so like it's a don't ask, don't tell situation. I'm not
okay.
going to never volunteer information in a border
no,
crossing.
no.
Adam.
You should have lied and say, "Hey, no, these are Japanese capsule toys."
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, see,
I don't.
they wouldn't know.
Willis already has this planned out.
Yeah, see, no, because you know why? Because I remember I came back from Singapore and I had to eat it right before I come back, like your daughter did.
Yeah.
You had to.
Me and my partner, we ate like 4 eggs. We have 5 total. We gave one to hotel staff, and I remember reading the rule. It was $500 fine per egg.
Per Kinder Egg.
Per Kinder Egg, $500. So I was like, oh my goodness, that would have cost
Yeah,
a ton of money.
that would have cost as much as my whole trip if I had 5 Kinder Eggs.
Yeah.
So
Oh boy, yeah. So we ate a lot of Kinder Eggs before our flight.
yeah. Anyway, I feel bad about the tomato thing. I don't think I realized quite how important California's agricultural industry was at the time that I was doing that, and I wasn't prepared for the. I didn't realize that there was agricultural inspection on the way into the state.
Yeah. Well, Ziv is right. We are a bunch of criminals here.
Smooth criminals.
Not me.
Elena's straight and narrow. Brad's just shocked that we have out here in California, we're inspecting cars.
That's true. That's very weird to me. But also, I don't discuss my crimes on YouTube. So
Yeah, right?
Mine was 20 years ago. I'm safe. Statute of limitations is clear, I'm pretty sure.
statute of limitations.
Okay. I like it. Okay. Well, I guess we should talk about PC hardware. PC.
I mean,
is there news?
We can talk about Taylor Swift if you want. There was technology there.
Taylor Swift cast.
We'll do that on the Tech Pod this week.
Yeah. I'll let you cover that on that. I am curious in the technology that goes behind that kind of stuff.
It was interesting.
I'm sure. No, we're here to talk about that GPU right in front of us.
The 1080 Ti.
Well, we could talk about the 1080 Ti if you want, but really it's the B580 that's in front. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some SteamOS stuff that I'm excited about. Going to be fun stuff. I think we should roll into it. Willis, hamsters okay?
Hamsters running.
All right.
Everyone's in.
They're not choking on their Kinder eggs. That's good.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we should feed them. These hamsters only run on Kinder eggs. We have to smuggle them in to keep the hamsters happy.
Like, how do people choke on the Kinder eggs? The capsule's enormous. You'd have to eat the whole egg in your mouth at one time for it to be a problem.
You don't know kids these days, and that could be one of those TikTok.
Americans.
Yeah,
don't let it be a TikTok challenge.
American. They ate Tide Pods. Come on.
I mean, they're delicious in orange and blue. Why would you not eat Tide Pods? It keeps your mouth clean.
No. This is not official sanction of the PC world. All right, let's get started. Everyone ready?
Yeah.
I guess I got to go over to my notes. Okay. I didn't write it down, but that's okay. We're gonna wing it. Here we go.
3. Remember the episode number?
Yeah.
Okay.
TK.
Yep. I'm just gonna bring it on the fly.
You got it. I believe in you.
In this episode of The Full Nerd, we talk about Battlemage and SteamOS Guidelines coming to you. I could have workshopped a little bit. Welcome, everyone, to episode 327 of the Full Nerd Podcast, the best weekly podcast out there about PC building news. I'm going to call it. I'm just going to say it. It's the best one out there. There's never been a better PC building.
Best one I'm aware of, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Top of the mark.
I love it. I am your fill-in host, Adam Patrick Murray, but I'm not alone. I got an awesome crew here. We got the full crew of remote people. We got Brad Charkis joining us from the internet. Hello, Brad.
Hello, the internet.
Yeah. Still rocking the ARC GPU behind you.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on it, but I turned it on, and since we're going to talk about it, let's just rub.
That makes sense. Also joining us via the internet is Elena Yee with an amazing sweater. If you're only listening to the audio version, you should find the link to go to the YouTube version just to see this sweater, and then you can go back to listen to the audio.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
I like my sweater.
It's a good sweater.
It's a good sweater. To my left here, in the flesh and blood, back from Taylor Swift concert, is William Smith.
Hi.
Hello.
It was truly the end of an era's
I just noticed your shirt too. Okay.
I don't often wear Taylor Swift merch, but I figured I'd wear it today for you.
Many pieces, your whole family total, how many pieces of Taylor Swift merch did you take away from the concert?
3, I think.
Only 3?
It was pretty expensive, dude.
I mean,
even Canadian
the whole
dollars
thing
was expensive.
Yeah, I feel like you should have smuggled some back in, then resold it.
Well, the problem was by the time we got to the front of the merch line, it was all weird sizes. So this is my wife's T-shirt technically, but it's big enough that it fits me really comfortably. So
perfect.
I figured I'd wear it today to fly the flag. It was a good show.
All right. Speaking of somebody who's very comfortable, Willis Lai is over here sitting comfortably at the verticals and horizontals. Hello, Willis.
Hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I am sitting very comfortably and sporting my Outrage Pony hoodie. But I am outraged because I don't have any Kinder eggs right now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I'm also outraged because you said Happy Tuesday. Today is not Tuesday.
Oh, my goodness.
Today is Thursday.
It is Thursday. My goodness.
It is a weird week. We're doing this a little later for a lot of reasons, but mainly because there was a launch of a new GPU. And I mean, we're here to talk about Intel Battlemage. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about SteamOS guidelines, stuff like that. We got Q&A. This is the last normal episode of the year. next week, we will hold in 1 week both the best of episode and also the predictions episode. So tune in next Tuesday and Thursday for those fun ones. You're going to get a double dose of the full nerd.
That means I have to do some homework.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have to, we need to figure this out. Yes.
Are any of our episodes really normal at the end of the day?
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no, but I have something special. Nobody here knows about this. Well, actually Willis does. But I got a package.
I saw that you have a video card shaped package right
there. I have a video card shaped package, nondescript. I covered up all the stuff so you can't see. This is the GPU you actually want to know about. So I'm gonna unbox this live here on air because
are you breaking embargoes?
Well,
live
if I am, it's okay. Nobody's watching.
Nobody watches video podcasts.
Nobody watches the best.
Oh boy, I want to go to jail here.
About PC building.
You should have put it in an oven and then pull it out.
I see what you did here, man. Wow, you're really bringing expectations high here, Willis.
I hope that NVIDIA recreates Jensen's kitchen for the keynote in CES. That's my dream.
We got a lot of bubble wrap.
There's a lot. This is a well packaged piece of kit.
Yeah,
it's a tiny box though. NVIDIA. It can't be NVIDIA because the box is too small for an NVIDIA card.
Yeah, too soon. Too soon. Let's see.
That's really loud.
Yeah, wow, and a lot of bubble wrap. Wow, okay.
I love because of the camera angle for how I see you. I just have like all this like wrapping.
Throwing it. Yeah. You're getting the full experience. Those at home, sorry, I'll throw this next one at you because look at this. If you can start to see it. Dun, da, da, da. Oh nope, that's not working either.
You're doing
there we
that's
go.
That's much smaller than I thought it was going to be. Based.
This is not how.
This is much smaller, and look at this! Wow, in the mail, I got quite arguably the best GPU of all time, the GOAT, the GTX 1080 Ti. Yeah, look at that! I just got it off eBay. This is the card everyone wants to know about. This is the one.
People are dying.
Yeah, and actually we had an argument on Discord recently, which was the GOAT, the 1080, which I actually bought a Founders Edition as well to have in the collection, or the 1080 Ti. Willis, please put in a vote. Leave it up for a good while because I want people to vote on which is
There's
which
one
is the
clear
GOAT.
answer here.
Yeah, we'll see.
There is one clear answer. However, I am curious why are we purchasing these? Is something about to happen?
Well, number one, I actually did include a 1080 Ti in our testing of Intel, but Will was kind enough to let us borrow his.
I pulled one out of my collection,
1080 Ti
out of the hole.
Also, we didn't actually have a 1080 Ti here in our collection, so I was like, well, we kind of need to have one. And then I got the 1080 for other reasons that you might, have heard, but yeah, no. So I tried to buy one earlier, if some people remember, on eBay, but it came painted. So I sent that back immediately. This is not painted. It is supposedly in testing order. It actually looks in really good condition.
Yeah, that looks untouched.
Right?
Whoever used it cleaned it. Why it has tags on it? Are those like ID tags or?
I don't know. I'm not.
Those are I bet eBay tags.
Yeah.
I bet it's the eBay.
Anyway, okay. We're not here to talk about the 1080 Ti. We're here to talk about the ARC B580.
That's better than the 1080 Ti.
Actually, it is.
It is.
Yeah,
pretty much across the board.
Yeah. No, I had to think about it. I was like, well, actually, I don't think there was a place where the 1080 Ti. I will say we included the 1080 Ti in the testing. We have a video up on the PCWorld channel. Will and I talked for about an hour about it.
Wow, really?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
We included the 1080 Ti. Brad has an awesome article over on PCWorld. Both of those things are linked in the description if you want to go consume that at a later date. We didn't really get too much into the 1080 Ti versus the B580 in the video, but we thought it was interesting to include a 10 series card. We kind of went back and forth because the 1060 was obviously, like kind of the same price MSRP at the time. So, hey, what did 250 get you around then? What does 250 get you now? But then also we had our own that internal debate of which is the GOAT, the 1080 or the 1080 Ti. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'm curious to see what the 1080 Ti can produce right now. And to tell you the truth, sure, it didn't beat the B580. It's still a damn good card.
I mean, asterisk, right? Because it had if you look at the gap between the average frame rates in the mins or the 1% lows, it had the widest variance of anything we saw, which makes sense given that it's also like a 7-year-old card or 8-year-old card, whatever. But yeah, still holds.
Yeah. Brad. So for those of you who don't know, the actual test bench testing was done by me. Brad has passed off the torch for me to run the numbers. We still all work together as a team. It was very much a team effort to figure out, okay, what games are we going to include, what resolutions, the test bench, all that kind of stuff. So very, very much a team effort. Will help me kind of decipher some of this stuff too. We sat down and did the review video. Brad took the results and made an article. So yeah, yay for teamwork. I like it. But Brad, I've read your article. It's linked in the description. Give us a TLDR. We haven't had a chance to talk about it. What do you think about the ARC B580?
I think it's effing awesome. I think it's pretty much lived up to what I used for the headline in my teasers during the announcement last week. I think this is the graphics card we've been begging for since the pandemic. Even before that, the GTX 1060, I think this is the true replacement for that. What is it? 8 years later? This is a card that for $250 gives you 12 gigabytes of VRAM, big memory bus, good enough performance that you can play flawlessly at 1080p and very, very well at 1440p. Often flawlessly, it sounds like from your testing. But worst case, you would have to drop things down to high in most games. There are still a couple very minor niggling like driver issues, which we mostly saw in Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Black Myth Wukong. But in general, I think Intel knocked it out of the freaking park with this.
The thing that struck me is that like it's a $250 card that you can turn ray tracing on with. Especially for games that support XeSS, right? Like you're going to upscale if you're going to ray trace, but like we were playing Cyberpunk with ray tracing on, not with path tracing, but with the high ray tracing or ultra ray tracing.
Ray tracing, yeah.
And like getting totally playable frame rates at 1080p, which is freaking magic.
Yeah, we're not going to show the charts here. Definitely go over to the article or go watch the video to see the full numbers. But I mean, just as a taste with RT Ultra preset, the upscaling by 1.5x, which for the B580 was XeSS set to quality, which is 1.5. So essentially 1080p internal resolution. At 1440p, it was average of 49. At 1080p, it was average of 71. So, I think that's good enough to dabble. I was curious though, because I watched a lot of videos by awesome people on YouTube who also got a lot of reviews up. Really good ones out there. I would like to point out real quick Wendell's video. His video is always like, I love watching his review videos because, for the most part, people like Hardware Unboxed and Gamers Nexus, Steve over there, they do awesome work for sure. But kind of what you're going to get. Wendell, I watch Wendell's review videos and be like, all right, what weird side tangent is he going to go off into?
What's his angle?
Yeah. He always has some sort of weird, unique angle, and I love Wendell for that. But anyway, the consensus out there seemed to be like, hey, even though this is a better ray tracing than the competition, that they still don't recommend it for ray tracing at all.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at 1080p, like with these budget cards, not necessarily 1080p. It's hard because in a lot of the games you're struggling to hit 60 FPS. Not with this card necessarily. With this card, it performs pretty well across the board at 1080p. But once you bump it up to 1440p, turning on ray tracing can really hurt performance. So in general, I kind of agree. Maybe don't look for ray tracing in a budget card. But to me, like Will was saying, this is the first budget card that can actually responsibly handle it, I believe.
And like for me, my strategy on games is always, if I'm playing something multiplayer, I want the most frame rate. And if I'm playing something single player, I'm happy to sacrifice frame rate for IQ, right? I want that image quality. And I think like if you're not okay running at 40 or 60 or something like that, then you're probably not going to turn ray tracing on with these cards. If you want 120 frames per second with ray tracing on, yeah, go buy your 4090, whatever, you'll be fine. But the fact that this is accessible at this price point now is a moment, and I didn't expect Intel to be the one that delivered it. I expected that to come, frankly, from NVIDIA probably, because AMD's ray tracing performance has been kind of underwhelming all the way through. So yeah, it's a big day. It's very cool.
I think it always depends on what you're willing to accept in terms of frame rates. I am somebody who's okay with a smooth 40 if I can get the bells and whistles for sure. So for me, this falls in line. If anything, I think at least at this price point for $250, it allows you to turn it on to maybe, maybe you're not going to play the whole game with it, but maybe you could turn on just to kind of dabble in it a little bit. Yeah. So, I think it makes ray tracing, more palatable to the masses for sure. So
yeah, and XeSS. So part of the story for these cards is that they're rolling out XeSS 2, which has frame generation, and XE low latency. That's not really available yet. Like day one, I'm not even sure if it's gonna be available tomorrow. I think it is in F124, but that's gonna be it on day one.
Yeah.
But fortunately, much like DLSS versus DLSS 3, like these cards still support XeSS, like as we know it. They call it XeSS Super Resolution or XeSS 1 now. So that's already in 150 games. And a lot of those are the ray tracing games. And XeSS is much better in image quality than FSR is. It's right up there with DLSS. So if you're going to turn on ray tracing and your game supports XeSS, like it's peanut butter and jelly time, man.
Well, and actually, this is something I want to clarify with the folks over at Intel, and I totally forgot to do it. XeSS2 includes the whole package of upscaling, low latency, and frame gen, yes. Which is only available on Battlemage, or I'm sorry, it's available on Battlemage, Lunar Lake, Meteor Lake, and Alchemist. It's not available on NVIDIA or AMD cards. But that doesn't mean, I do wonder if that means the super resolution part of it can still use the fallback DP4A. So even though it won't use the low latency and the frame generation, the super resolution still might be available for competing cards.
It should.
Okay.
When I was talking with Tom Peterson and stuff during the briefing, we asked those exact questions. They said, yeah, XeSS 1 is just XeSS super resolution as you know it.
Okay. Yeah. So that's good to know, because I do like that idea of, FSR 3... FSR across the board, I think that is one of its strengths, is that you can turn that on anywhere you want. It is vendor agnostic, right? And people have been like, oh man, it's a bummer DLSS is only locked behind NVIDIA hardware, and then Intel's kind of it's got a half approach. Some is, some isn't.
So one of the other things that we didn't actually have the ability to test this go round is that they've added driver level super sampling and support for some of these technologies as well, which will work on games that don't. Typically the path for DLSS or FSR or XeSS support is that the game developer takes some time and installs a plugin for their engine of choice, or builds a module for it if they have their own custom engines. And it's a fair, it ranges from like a half day of engineer work and some UI work and some other things to, hey, we have to have an engineer embedded with this team to do this work over a longer period of time for like highly custom engines. I'm really curious to see how their driver level support, because as far as I know, I think this is the first time anybody's done that for super sampling.
No, all the other vendors have had driver specific.
No. That upscales in the driver without having to have a native application.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they've all had that. Yeah. What is it? NIS, NVIDIA?
They kind of had. That was a question I meant to ask Tom Peterson when he was here last week, because this reminds me a lot of AMD doing it.
Yeah, there's the AFMF.
Yeah, it had a bad acronym.
That is driver level. Yeah. There is upscaling. I mean, obviously, it's only spatial, because it's literally taking the whole frame. But yeah, and NVIDIA has one as well. I can't remember the
Is it
the name
the DASS or whatever?
There's so many acronyms.
Yeah. Okay.
Please, somebody in the chat remind us.
I thought
it's the Ansel filter that most people use for that in NVIDIA. But DLAA and DLSS are great too.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind then. Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, but either way, I mean, it brings them up with parity, and those are nice tools to be able to say, hey, yeah, sure, even if it's not integrated into a game, you can turn that on. It's something that is also built into things like the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
The Steam Deck uses the driver level, or can use if you want it. So yeah,
okay.
Interesting stuff. I mean, so this is just the review of the limited edition. That's what we got sampled from Intel. There will be partner cards. The review embargo for that is tomorrow. We actually don't have any in. I did pre-order the ASRock. It's the white one, the triple fan white one, which looked real pretty just because I wanted to try to test one of the partner cards. But yeah,
Legend.
Yeah, so, something like that. I can't remember. And yeah, because we actually have an A770 ASRock. What is that? I can't remember the name of it over there, but yeah, and yeah, people are saying, hey, everything's sold out. I tried to look at Newegg, Amazon, all that kind of stuff. I was only able to pre-order through the local chain here, which is Central Computer. So they had two versions. They had an ASRock, or both were ASRock. One was the smaller card, one was the bigger white one.
The partner cards are a little bit more expensive, right?
Actually, not by much. This was triple fan white RGB, really pretty, and it was only $270. So $20 premium. I was like,
that's a good deal.
I was surprised.
A couple things I want to point out real quick. One, if I was going to buy a card, I would probably try to get the Intel limited edition because I feel like they put a lot of money into that they're probably losing some money selling those. So if you can get those, that's great. The reason you're probably seeing a lot of them sold out is because it doesn't actually go on sale until tomorrow, the 13th. Any of these. So like I use the Newegg link in my review, but it doesn't actually go live until sometime tomorrow. I don't know exactly which time, but typically it's 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific time for graphics card launches. So if you're itching to get one of these, maybe be online that time, depending on where you're at in the world.
I do want to clarify it's the ASRock Steel Legend, which is, really pretty card. I like the
one that leaked.
Yeah.
Oh, is this the one that leaked? Okay.
That's the reason I knew the name.
That's funny, but yeah. So I don't know where it's other places, but yeah, $270.
Good for Intel, man.
Before tax and stuff like that. And since it's local, I get to pick it up. It's right there. So yeah, I mean, and listen, there's obviously a lot of talk about the teething pains that Alchemist experience, not only in launch day drivers, but I mean, even in our testing. Every single scenario put this card at the same price, well ahead of the A750. It was just like every single chart was like, oh, well, there's the B580, there's the A750.
And that's comparing current driver to current driver.
Yeah,
different versions of the
even
driver.
after all the work they did on the A750, which is awesome. Good on Intel for keeping up with it. It's still this new Battlemage architecture is leagues ahead for sure.
If we had run launch Alchemist drivers versus launch Battlemage drivers, it would have been the bars would have been much bigger.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, not just that, but also stability and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Would the benchmarks have run? Who knows? Could we have run?
I was going back and reading my Alchemist review before I was writing this one, and I think the thing to drive home is that the Alchemist review, I had to start before I dove into any benchmarks or anything. I had a big section on all the show-stopping bugs and all the performance issues I ran into. We did have a couple of qualms with this. It did perform a little bit low in Call of Duty and Black Myth Wukong, but still, totally playable. But other than that, Adam can talk to it more. He had some crashes in Star Wars Outlaws, but those were fixed in the driver before the reviews launched. The drivers aren't something to overly worry about anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely Star Wars Outlaws was a weird one. I downloaded a bunch of games, loaded up Star Wars Outlaws. It crashed. I actually never started it, so it was a fresh playthrough. So they had the opening cutscene, and then pretty much as it went into the area where you're gonna control the character, it just would hard crash, and I was like, oh, okay, weird. I'll move on to another one and come back to it later. And lo and behold, Intel sent an email being like, oh, hey, we have a new version of the driver that specifically fixes that crash. So cool, they're on it. The other one that I did not reach out to Intel for, and I need to see if anybody else. I didn't see anybody else talking about it, but I tried to play that new Indiana Jones game. Which is brand new.
Indiana Jones in the Circle of Trust.
Yeah,
or whatever it is.
Great Circle. Yeah, something like that. It was brand new, and I was trying to, play a brand new game with a pre-release GPU. So kind of a weird scenario. But man, I could not get. It wasn't crashing. It just was literally at sub 1080p levels, everything set to low, I could just not get anything over like 40 FPS. It was obviously something wrong there that I experienced. I did, when I was watching other people's videos, people did run into some other things that we didn't necessarily run into. Like Steve over Gamers Nexus, when he was enabled RT Ultra on his GPU, it would just crash. He couldn't even get runs with it. On Cyberpunk 2077, I'm sorry. And yeah, we actually ran ours at RT Ultra as well, and ours didn't crash. So, I still think there are some things out there, but the way that I kind of talked about it in my video is that I think it's to that point where you're talking about caveats just like you would any other GPU. So, with NVIDIA, you have certain caveats that you want to give to people. With, somebody who's interested in AMD GPU, you have certain caveats. Intel now still has certain caveats, but it's not like, oh, you know what, only tinkers should really mess with it. It's just more like a normal kind of caveat of like, if you're looking at all three, just to let you know, each one have positives and negatives on all of them.
Yeah.
So,
to me, the Indiana Jones thing isn't something you can chalk up to a negative yet, because as you said, it's a brand new game in the midst of pre-release driver testing. Like, I think Linus Tech Tips was able to test that, so
he was.
I would just chalk
I
that
didn't
up
watch
to the
that one.
weirdness of the timing of all.
I mean, it could have been also what I tested it in. It wasn't like the actual test bench. I put it in my work rig. So, like it's something else could have been running in the background, like it's my actual work rig. So I have like other things going. It's not a clean test bench.
To me, like we ourselves are getting caught in the caveats here, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
Like, to me, the big picture thing to know here is that you don't have to worry about it anymore. Even in the games where performance was a little bit lower than we expected, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Black Myth Wukong are the two big ones. They're still totally playable frame rates. They were still 60 FPS or close to it at 1440p, much less 1080p.
The COD performance one kind of hit me a little bit, just because, like, there's multiple different kinds of people who play games at this point, right? But people who have one game that they play a lot, there's a large number of those folks, and they tend to have older machines that could really benefit from a $250 video card upgrade that's a banger. And so, like, we didn't test Fortnite, we didn't test Apex, we didn't test Destiny, we didn't test some of the other big live service games. And we did do Siege, which it romped at. But the COD number being low feels like a missed opportunity for Intel on this one, because, like, it is a relatively new release. It's about a month old at this point, but it feels like a place that they should have spent time to get that number up, if there's not some underlying problem.
Which, if I would have had time, I actually would have loved to go back and load up the benchmarks from the previous versions of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
To see, is this inherent to Call of Duty? Is this inherent to this release specifically? It's curious. I mean, it's still playable. It's not like it's like, oh, this thing won't run. It's just like, oh, it definitely does not keep up with the pack. And
it didn't have a big gap in the, I can't remember, COD I think is 1% lows. It didn't have a big gap in the lows and the averages that it would indicate some sort of horrible micro stutter problem. It was about the same as everybody else.
Yeah,
so.
not horrible.
And on the flip side of this, though, it's worth also pointing out that the ARC B580 absolutely smashes the competition in a lot of games that we tested.
Oh, yeah.
Cyberpunk, like, it ran laps around this RX 7600 and the RTX 4060.
In both rasterization and RT. Like, I especially Cyberpunk, I was like, man, because NVIDIA has done a lot of work on Cyberpunk, and I thought that would be a stronghold. Intel came in here and just had their lunch with that, and I was like, wow, okay. When
the asterisks are one game that just came out a month ago, one game that came out between the time we got the card and between the time it was announced or the embargo lifted, like, that's pretty good, right? I think I think compared to how they launched the last generation, it's an incredible story. And like, that's dope. Like, the fact that somebody's making really good $250 cards is incredibly exciting.
Finally. Now, what I'm looking forward to see, I've seen some other reviews saying, oh, I might wait to see what AMD and NVIDIA do. Their cards might be faster. Who knows? The 3060 and the 4060 were pretty stagnant the last two generations. So we'll see what happens this generation. But nevertheless, I think any cards that we do see announced at CES will not be 60 class cards.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, I know we're not in the predictions episode, but that's one for next week. And we don't have pre-release knowledge, anything like that. I don't think there's any way they're going to show up to CES with a competitor at this price range. Like, I think that's like maybe a 6 month down the road kind of thing. So, yeah.
But even
some of the rumors are saying the 50 series might be like March, April, but that would be the earliest I would expect a competitor to this. This card has free reign. There's nothing. You should not buy a 4060 or a 7600 over this.
And I wonder, like, I can't imagine that NVIDIA is going to roll out with mid-range and low-end cards to start. It's going to be high-end for 6 months, and then we'll see the low ends maybe at the GTX conference, but probably later this year would be my guess.
Yeah. Sorry, Elena, you had something.
Yeah, I was going to try to break in. Sometimes it's weird with Zoom. I can't always tell if you can hear me or not. I was going to say, but even removing the normal timeline from that, like, I personally, maybe with the competition it'll change, but I personally would find it surprising to see AMD or NVIDIA come out at this price with this level of performance in this class. Yeah. That's what makes this card so exciting, honestly, and so unique, and why Brad is saying, like, we finally are getting a card that doesn't come with all these asterisks for, like, oh, well, you will have a great 1080p card, but it doesn't really do 1440p that well. Or, oh, you're going to have to pay this much more to get, this RT performance. Or, oh, this or that, right? Like, or previously with the A series generation, you're going to have to wait for the drivers to mature. But now we don't have that, right? And so I think that the pressure on AMD and NVIDIA is different, right? So I don't know. It's great that we have competition, but I personally would be surprised to see them just go, okay, yeah, we're just going to drop our prices too immediately just to compete with Intel. It's my take.
Diotis also points out, since they relaunched around the holiday time, the return windows are extended. So if you want to try it out,
Elena's trick.
Yeah, the Elena hack is in full
gets me.
So you have up till like January 31st to return, depending on vendor and whether they accept open boxes.
I mean, and that's if people can get them. I mean, it still seems like it's going to be pretty tight availability and things like that.
I mean, it seems like if you're sitting on a 1 series card, maybe even a 2060, it feels like a pretty good upgrade potentially. So that's compelling.
Yeah. And we didn't really talk about it much, but it also comes, like, it supports standard 8-pin power connector. You don't need a new power supply.
Just one.
Yeah.
That's all you need. And it also has, modern codec support. Like, if you are a content creator, you are streaming, like, everything you need's in here. Like, to me, this is the first modern graphics card that's available for under $400 even, let's say, that can play 1440p. So, like, I love this card. Like, go buy it if you've been waiting for a good card to buy under $300. This is the one you want to get.
It's exciting. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the last thing to talk about then, do you think this, I mean, this is obviously a big turnaround from Alchemist. Brad, do you think this helps set the runway for the future? Obviously, Alchemist didn't light the world on fire. They didn't really even show up on this Steam hardware survey, I don't think. Do you think this is going to actually make a dent in sales? And to the point where maybe somebody like NVIDIA has to respond?
I think we'll see. Like, it might be too late in the process for them to change it. I'm really curious to see if AMD and NVIDIA's competitors to this generation have 8 gigabytes of memory or more. Like, I think that's what's going to matter. If NVIDIA tries to put out an 8 gigabyte card for roughly the same price, I think it's dead on arrival. I said that right now for this card, even if AMD and NVIDIA drop their prices for the 4060 and the 7600 right now, like, still buy this Intel card. It's worth buying over those. So, yeah. I mean, we're going to have to see. I think this is obviously a great card and a great place in the market. I wouldn't be surprised if part of the reason that Intel started here is because they knew they could attack this. I would not be surprised to see a B770, 7 series, whatever, in the future. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're waiting to see what AMD and NVIDIA do indeed launch at CES and then figure out where they can slip in after that. But this is a great card. Like, no complaints. Hopefully they can keep it up.
when they said that they were doing a December announce and launch for this, I had one of two thoughts, right? One was, oh man, they're trying to get out in front of whatever comes at CES, and like they know that they're not gonna be able to hang with what's coming, so they got to get out and get this, have the crown at this price point for a month. But like this card feels like a pretty strong statement that they've learned lessons, they've applied the learnings in terms of like driver support and fixing the DX11 stuff and all the problems they had with Alchemist coming out, and also have found a niche where they're actually really competitive in a way that like new entrants to the GPU market rarely are. So it's good for Intel.
I would say though that like the timing is important though, because I think if they had launched with this level of this class of card after CES, it would have contributed to the image that they're just behind. Do you know what I mean? I think that them launching in December is really smart because now they get to kind of hold this space, and they get to hold this space for a while without that hanging over their heads.
Yeah.
And they get to say, hey, Battlemage launched in 2024. It's the end of 2024, but it still technically counts.
But I mean, so the next thing for me is, are they going to have what does the higher end SKU look like? Is this the only Battlemage card we're going to see this generation, or are we going to see?
Well, we know the B570 is coming out in January, so
there's a lower end even. But is there going to be a higher end version of this coming out that has more shader cores, more compute, more everything? And what does that look like? And is it going to hang with what NVIDIA and AMD do roll out? Because they're going to go in those higher end price ranges.
Yeah.
One thing I'm curious to see as NVIDIA and AMD do roll those out is those next gen cards are probably going to be on the cutting edge nodes. Part of the reason that Intel can offer this so cheaply is because it's still on the TSMC's N7 node, which is like a generation behind what AMD and NVIDIA are doing. So those newer fab nodes are so much more expensive than N7 was. So I'm really curious to see if AMD and NVIDIA can even try to compete with this. And if they do, how far down Intel can go. But for now, we don't have to worry for that for months. This is a great card.
Yeah.
I actually believe it's on N5.
Oh, well, never mind then. But nevertheless,
yeah.
Same idea, just one node quicker.
One node newer.
Yeah, but yeah. Interesting stuff. I'm curious.
The other thing is it's an easy upgrade because of the power envelope for it is so low, and it uses the old pin. You can just pull your old card out, plug the new card in, put the same power cord you used in, and it's going to just work. Which is like for the audience that a $250 card is hitting, you can't overestimate how important that is.
Yep.
Quick question: did you happen to see what thermals were like for this? Reference card, for lack of a better term?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, no, like official testing. I was kind of watching it when I was playing it in my small form factor rig. So like just I have some anecdotal evidence, but I mean, it was great. I mean, I feel like it was like mid 60s.
Okay.
Just what it was reporting in the OS kind of thing. So, I'm not going to call that any sort of official numbers, and I wasn't stress testing it. But yeah, I mean, in our open air test bench, I didn't get to hear sound levels for this card either because I run the AIO at 100%, so that was louder than the GPU was going to do anyway. So unfortunately, I didn't really get to test some of that stuff, but.
Because I feel like this would be a super sweet card for a smaller form factor build. And it's so affordable. So affordable.
Yeah. Really pretty.
Yeah.
Really pretty. I like it. Yep. All right. Cool. Yeah. I'm gonna.
I just want to say one last thing.
No, please. I'm actually gonna see if there's any specific questions over on on Discord.
I just want to while we're talking about personal anecdotes, since the pandemic happened, this decade basically, there have only been 2 graphics cards that I have loved. And I'm a guy who loves graphics cards. That's how brutal this decade has been. Mm-hmm. But on one end, there's the 4090. When that thing came out, yes, it cost $1,600, but that's because it was enabling things that no other card could do. I love that card. I still do. And now, ironically enough, the very opposite end. Like, I love this card and what it can do for people. This is the card that, all the kids who've been mowing lawns for summer to save up to buy a Fortnite rig for the thing. Like, this is the card you have been waiting for. It's been 8 years since we've seen a card like this. GTX 1060, RX 4080, that era, you could play 1440p with enough memory. They had 8 gigabytes memory at the time. We haven't seen that ever since. So, like, this is enabling new experiences for a class of buyers who haven't been able to do this in damn near 10 years, unless you're buying used older cards. So I'm all about this. I love the card.
Look, like this can be the centerpiece of a $500 gaming PC that whips at 1080, right?
Yeah,
and is 1440p capable even. Like we haven't had that in a long time. It's dope.
Forever.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for my next Black Friday build, 2025.
There you go.
So excited.
Well, and Intel's breaking into the market, so they know they're gonna have to shave margin, which means they're gonna we're getting better. It's always the good thing, right? You're getting better parts than you should be for the money you're getting. That always feels good. Anyway, I'm done.
We do have a question over on Discord from friend of the show, Sort of Fast. Said this is for Brad. Say you're recommending a PC build to a friend with a budget GPU in mind. Would you still say going used GPU would make more sense versus an Intel GPU for driver support or even overall performance? Just seems to me that even going with a used 6700 XT or something similar would still make more sense.
That is actually, as I was starting to hear this question, that was the exact card that I had in mind. Like, if you can find a new 6700 XT for around the same money, I would go for it. I'm not personally a huge fan of buying used graphics cards just because there's so many moving parts and potential for damage to be had from people who are crypto mining and stuff like that. Personally, I would always skew towards the new cards. But if you can find a new or get one from a friend, a 6700 XT, that was obviously a class up when it launched. And it still should be a little bit faster and just as good. So there's no bad options there.
Yeah, so I'm looking over at Newegg. This is US Newegg. Looks like I can't find a brand new one under 500. They do have a couple refurbished ones. There's a reference, AMD reference version for 320, but that's refurbished.
Yeah, I would get this.
Yeah.
Like, if you're getting this for damn good 1080p gaming and pretty damn good 1440p gaming. And to me, it's worth having the warranty. And, these are going to be supported for at least 5 years. They can do cutting-edge ray tracing, which AMD can't do. And Intel is definitely going to support XeSS2 and XeSS with this going forward. You're not necessarily going to get that with the 6700 XT. So for me, I would opt for this over a $300 6700 XT.
The post crypto resale market for GPUs is a little scary. I think 6700 is probably late enough that it's okay, but like you don't want a 1080 or 2080 Ti used right now because they may look real pretty.
Actually, I bought this one
only an absolute fool would buy
I bought this one
used.
I bought this 1080 Ti, this Founders Edition 1080 Ti that actually looks really, really good condition. I got this for $250 on eBay.
Let me know how your electron drift is going.
I've not tested. I literally
tested it yet,
I literally just opened it. So
it's probably fine.
I hope it works, Adam.
I don't see any cat hair.
Yeah, well, it's fine.
It's not painted, right?
It's not painted. That's all I cared about. We do have a question over here that I missed. Okay. No. Yep. No. The rest is for Q&A. Oh, we did have a super chat that I want to get to. I'm sorry. It swung by. D. Garkey gave us $5. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My only problem with the 1080 Ti was that it wasn't the 100 die, but rather a small 80 class at 471 millimeter. Oh well, that's lack of competition allows. There has been a chatter about the die size of the B580 as well, and worry about what does that mean for yields and all that kind of stuff. Does that worry you, Brad?
That's Intel's problem, not my problem.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally the TLDR answer. Like, hopefully Intel isn't losing too much money on these. Those are bigger dies than the competitors, but it also has a lot more features. They spend a lot of their die space putting in those XMX engines that enable XeSS2 and stuff like that. So that's Intel's problem, not my problem.
Brad, do you think we're going to see a really big, do you think they're going to make a compute version of this thing for AI people, or do you think that's an NVIDIA business?
I don't know if we would see one this generation. I think that would be the goal. I could see them definitely doing it this generation, depending on yields and what they're trying to do, but I would think that'd be more of a next generation thing, possibly.
Yeah. All right.
What I really want them to do is put out something like the A770, A770, B770. Geez, so many numbers. And then put like 32 gigabytes of GDDR6 on there and make like a badass machine learning card. I bet you they would sell a ton of those.
Yeah, we were actually talking about this before the show too. I was like, man, there were so many other ways I wanted to test it. I actually did get to some content creation benchmarks in our video. If you're curious, the Intel cards have an advantage in Premiere Pro with specific things. You'll have to go watch the video to figure out what. But I mean, there are so many other things too. I mean, obviously, the focus is on gaming, but there's so many other things that you can do with the GPU that we would love to test. AI,
GPU accelerated
workload.
audio fixes and stuff like that.
Yeah. So maybe for future GPU releases, we'll get to do some of that testing. So we will see. But yeah, I'm curious. Definitely let us know if you picked one up. Post pictures over in our Discord. We have a PC picture channel. What is it called?
PC photos.
PC photos. Yeah, that I would love any B580 builds to be showcased in there. So interesting stuff. You know what else is interesting?
I don't know, Adam. What do you think is interesting?
Steam operating systems.
Oh, the SteamOS, eh?
Yeah, so you could shorten it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
SteamOS is kind of a known quantity for handhelds, specifically on the Steam Deck.
I read this in the notes. I thought you were talking about SteamOS, the breakfast cereal.
Ooh, is that a breakfast cereal?
No, not really.
Oh, okay. I was about to say. I was like, is that?
It can be. That's
Yeah.
Wheels
You
brand
take
now.
Cracklin Oat Bran and you put some milk and brown sugar in, then you put it in the microwave oven and get it real hot, so the Cracklin Oat Bran gets soft and edible.
There you go.
And then then all your other problems go away. It's like drinking Coke with fiber.
Well, yes,
you go.
that is very accurate. You know what else brings your problems away is potentially Valve making this OS available to more hardware devices. They have said this earlier that they were working on something like this, but we are starting. We got a little glimpse that something is moving in that area. So we have an article over on PCWorld by one Michael Kreider. I have a link to it in the description, so you can go hit that. Titled "Valve's New Powered by SteamOS Branding Hints at New Hardware." So Valve updated the brand guidelines for SteamOS devices, and little logos and how it should be placed and all that stuff. And it's like, okay, well, why would they need stuff like that? Are they going to put this on the box of the Steam Deck? Brad, is that why they're doing this?
I mean, I'm sure they probably will at some point in the future put that in the box of the Steam Deck. But what gets me excited about is the potential for, let's say, a SteamOS powered ROG Ally at CES. Like, the timing of this makes me real curious to see what's coming down the pipeline early January.
What about a set-top box powered by an APU and SteamOS?
Yes. I'm in.
What about an
for.
SFF box with a B580 in it and a little CPU? That sounds pretty good. I would do that.
But technically, you can do that now. We've talked about Bazite.
But I can't go to the
show.
store and buy that, which is a whole different.
Yeah.
Like, there's things that nerds do, like us. Like,
What-
I'll
what
flash
are you calling
Bazite
me?
with
So
Rufus.
you're
to
going
a
to call me
thumb
that
drive
here
and
on
then boot
live
off of
television?
it and use the Fedora Blue installer and do a whole bunch of nonsense. But if I can go to Best Buy and give them $350 and they give me a thing, that's a lot better, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hell yeah.
And here's the other thing that's nice. Right now, when you buy a ROG Ally, somewhere in there, Microsoft's getting its share. Which, shout out to Microsoft. We're fans here. Microsoft's fine, but
Bring back Clippy.
Asus with the ROG Ally is competing against Valve Steam Deck, where they don't have to pay a Microsoft cut. They just have to pay a bunch of developers to work on Linux stuff, so that Linux is good, which is probably more expensive. But I don't look. I am a business guy, but I'm not a business guy in this sense. The point is, right now, Asus is paying Microsoft for Windows. If they take that $25 to $50 to $100, whatever it is they're charging, out of the price of the ROG Ally, suddenly the ROG Ally is a much more compelling product. And also it works better because then there's not 15 places you have to update and a bunch of weird stuff you have to do with a terrible tap screen. And you can it's just like a console that plays your PC games. I think this is a super win. Like, it's a win on top of another win.
I am really actually excited for a friend of mine because he's been trying so hard to get another friend in our group to move to PC gaming. And that friend's like, no, I love consoles. I just have to turn it on. It updates itself. I don't have to touch anything. It just works. So this first friend has the ability potentially just go out and buy basically a PC console, so to speak, for our other friends, so we can all finally play on the same servers together.
Well, do you think? Well, here's the thing with this branding. Say that this branding's coming out on a device like an ROG Ally that's available in Best Buy. Do you think a normal, a normie, either your friend of a friend or just somebody normal walking in would identify that powered by SteamOS and understand what that meant or like the value of that? Or do you think there's going to be enough of a benefit there?
Not in that regard, but I think this is really going to be good for the people who are aware of PC gaming, right? But they don't want to go through all the steps as Will just outlined, or they don't want to have to deal with it in terms of having to maintain a system for their kids if their kids are asking for PC gaming. Because I'm going to trust Gordon on this one. Apparently all the kids want is PC gaming. So
all the kids, every single kid.
Inside story. You want a behind the scenes story? I was in a meeting with the executive editor of Macworld this morning. And he was hitting me up because he's actually going to be building a Windows PC for his kid over the holidays.
Really?
Because the kid wants to game. You can't do that on Macs. So.
Wow.
I mean, look, my daughter last night was like, "Hey, how do I do mods on Minecraft? You can't do that on a console. There's no mods on a console."
Yep. Yeah.
Well,
I agree with everything Elena just said about it won't make a difference to normal people who might not recognize that. But I think that if you're in the market for a gaming handheld, unless you're a parent buying something for your kid who told you what to buy, you know what you're getting into. Like, if you're a person who is going out there looking to buy a ROG Ally, you know what Steam is, and you would know what powered by SteamOS.
Part of this is also to head off a problem on the past. Remember the old Nintendo seal of quality when Tengen and all those other companies were making bootleg Nintendo carts back in the 80s?
Black carts,
yeah. Like this is a thing that they can control whether people are allowed to use it or not, and thus they can say, okay, if you're not doing the right implementation, if your stuff doesn't work the way it needs to in order to get the badge, then you have to bring it up to snuff, or we won't give you the badge. So it's a way for them to make sure that the things that are shipping actually will run the Steam games that get the green badge and stuff like that. So that you don't have, I don't want to pick on a vendor, but you don't have somebody making underpowered machines that are less than the current Steam Deck spec, which is not what we initially think of in this space. But somebody's going to make $100 machine that is lower powered than the existing launch Steam Deck rather than a superset of that functionality. And this gives them a way to say, hey, no, you can't put SteamOS, you can't put the badge on it, at least.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the other question for me then is, do we think, assuming that if we're following these assumptions, is that ASUS, I'm just picking on them, is going to have a version of the Ally that is powered by SteamOS? Do you think it's going to be a dual boot device? Do you think it'll have both a Windows 11 sticker and powered by SteamOS on it?
No way.
No.
Why are they going to write a check to Microsoft if they don't have to?
Somebody did point out in the chat, maybe that's just a once it's activated, that they don't actually have to pay till it's activated.
Normal people don't want to fool with dual booting, man.
Yeah. Well, then, do you think that they'll have two different SKUs, or ASUS can just literally go all the way in and say, hey, you know what? None of our ROG Allies have Windows 11.
I think they're going to have two different SKUs for a minute here, and then when they see which way the wind blows, then they'll have one SKU after that. And if you want to put Windows on it, you can. If you want to put Steam, depending on which way it goes, if you want to put Bazite on it, you can. If you want to put Windows on it, you can. But most people just use what it comes with.
Isn't that like poking the bear, though? Like you're begging for Microsoft to come knocking, to be like, you know what? Actually, we're not going to be putting Windows on these devices that we're selling.
Microsoft and Sony have both looked at their console, looked deep in the hearts of their console businesses, and said, you know what? I think maybe people do want handheld gaming devices that aren't just streaming screens. And we're going to work on that and investigate that, and maybe we're going to bring out a Vita Squared or Vita Cubed or something.
Well, I want a new Vita. But
I mean, look, I love my PlayStation Portable Vita, both dope machines, really good stuff. but like they're going to. This is the Steam Deck has opened a door for people who want to play their games when they are not hooked up to a TV. They've reminded these enormous companies that that's a thing that exists. It's going to take them time to spin them up. In the meantime, the PC leads the way, as is always the case in handheld. We've been handheld leaders since the beginning. I remember I took my compact luggable and used to play M1 Tank Platoon on that back in the day. You couldn't play your Nintendo in the back of a car.
Well, a Game Boy, but you know.
It doesn't count. There was one color.
So there is. I linked it to another article from The Verge. Sean Hollister, friend of the show over at The Verge. I linked to an article called "Valve's Master Plan for Steam Machines is Finally Coming into Focus." It's a good article, kind of going over like, hey, a lot of this has been building towards this momentum. We've always known that Valve has, kind of had problems with Microsoft and Windows. They kind of wish they had their own thing. It took some while. Now they kind of do have their own thing. And then the whole Steam Machine thing was kind of a side note. The Steam controller was another downfall. But they've went through a series of losses and failures.
The Steam controller, though. The Index and the Steam Deck both use the technology that started in the Steam controller. So
that's what I'm saying. The Steam controller was a failure so that they could learn and implement it in the next product. So same thing with the Steam machines. Like I feel like they, instead of writing off this whole thing, they learned from their past mistakes. And this is something that Sean says in here. And it's like, oh, okay, you know what? All of this stuff is converging into this moment, and where SteamOS potentially coming out on handhelds and set-top boxes. I mean, maybe even gaming laptops could get SteamOS, right? If you're just a pure gamer, the company that stands to lose yay for consumers. The company that stands to lose the most of it is Microsoft. I mean, this is culminating in them finally maybe getting what they want to really stick it to Microsoft.
Well, it was all because of Windows 8.
I mean, but just to be clear, the thing Valve wants isn't to stick it to Microsoft, although that's the narrative.
Wait, are you sure?
The thing that Valve wants is to sell more games. I thought
Gabe has had choice words about Microsoft.
That was like 20 years ago, man. He left Microsoft. It's like they want to sell games. Valve gets to do whatever they want as a company because they take a big giant chunk of every game sale that happens on Steam. And as long as people keep buying games on Steam, that's cool. So everything they do is to encourage that behavior. Sticking it to Microsoft is secondary.
People were already doing that though on Windows-based versions of these handhelds. I can't imagine anybody being like, oh, I got my new ROG Ally. I never loaded Steam on it.
I guarantee you there's somebody at Microsoft that looks at the attach rate for games on ROG Ally versus the Steam Deck, and I bet one number is higher than the other.
Oh, well, I mean,
yeah, and that's the number. That number moves businesses and moves people around inside Valve. Can we talk about this Fremont rumor a little bit?
No, please. Yeah. What is this Fremont rumor you talk of?
So there was a Reddit post a couple days ago that from somebody who detected a change in the Steam Deck kernel posted to GitHub. For somebody who was testing HDMI CEC. So this is the electronic control stuff that lets you turn on and off your like TV and stereo using by powering up a device that's connected to the HDMI chain
over HDMI. Yeah.
And it was something called Fremont, is how it was labeled inside the code edition, which is speculated to be a set-top box that's permanently connected to your TV. It was using a Lilac, an AMD Lilac APU.
That sounds so pretty.
Which is significantly more powerful than the current Steam Deck. With Geekbench scores around 1,300 to 1,400 range for single core and 4,000s for multi-core.
Gordon's favorite Geekbench.
I know, we all love Geekbench here. And a GPU score of the 10,000s to mid 20,000s. 66,000 versus 10,000 to 20,000 for the current Steam Deck. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting because
why would they need CEC implementation? Maybe for the dock, maybe for the Steam Deck dock.
Well, so they're adding HDMI CEC. One of the things the Steam Deck dock has not had is HDMI CEC, and
maybe it's just around.
It's in the. I haven't looked lately. The last time I looked, it was still in the coming soon tab. It might actually be shipped now because it's been a couple months since I looked at it. But having a set-top box with that seems really important because you want to be able to pick up your controller and press the turn on button, and it wake up the box and turn on all your business. And you don't want to anytime I have to hit the input button on my TV, I feel like I've made a tactical error of some sort, made poor lifestyle choices.
I'm super excited by that rumor. I saw that rumor too. I would love the idea of SteamOS boxes. I think Valve has to be careful moving into set-top boxes because the cool thing with the Steam Deck is it has a set resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're using an APU, you're probably going to want to play that even if it's a bigger AMD APU at 1080p. So I feel like most TVs are 4K these days, or a large percentage of them are 4K these days. And I'm just real curious to see if that happens, how they handle it.
So having tested some APU boxes, RDNA 3 APU boxes at 4K, it's not great. Like I think
native,
the native upscaled, it works okay. Official, I think that Valve's official statement on, hey, what about set-top boxes is we'd love to work with partners on set-top boxes. I also think that we finally have, because the SteamOS front end only really works on NVIDIA and on Intel and AMD right now, on Xe specifically and Arc, not obviously not the older integrated graphics, and not on NVIDIA. I think Lunar Lake presents an interesting opportunity for these kinds of set-top boxes as we start seeing that filter down, as we start seeing that technology filter down to the lower end CPUs with integrated graphics. Then there's opportunities for some like streaming boxes and stuff like that are more interesting. I don't think they're going to make a set-top box at. I think it's much more likely that this is a dedicated dev kit for Steam Deck 2 whenever that may ship than an actual set-top box. Because although if you were making a set-top box to run at 4K, you'd want it to be much more powerful than the existing Steam Deck. So
also there is already a company that does make Nooks.
That's true.
Little
right?
boxes, yeah.
And allies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Nooks. Elena loves Nooks.
I do.
Yeah. Big Nook fan over here. Would you run a Nook with powered by SteamOS?
I mean, if I had a spare, why not?
Why not?
Doesn't like to dual boot though. See, dual booting sucks. Everybody hates dual booting.
I like dual booting. Why not?
It just sometimes creates more headaches than it's worth. So it's easy to play it safe. I am privileged enough to be at a point in my life now where I will just throw money at making the problem go away or not potentially exist.
Love it. Love it.
Questions for you, Adam, over in the chat. So, friend of the show, Matt Codgerface asks, Adam, who will wear the best smell, Steam Deck or Steam Machine?
Well, we actually do have a Steam Machine, and it has been cooking for years back here.
That's an actual Steam Machine.
That is the Alienware. I can't remember. Yeah, no, that's the actual Steam Machine. We reviewing it.
Wow.
So I could smell that one and let you know. I have not smelled it in a while, but yeah, that thing's been on.
I bet it's warm.
Yeah, I mean I don't leave it running. We turn it off when we leave. But
9 series cards.
I do not remember what's in this one specifically.
Wow.
Alienware Alpha. Yes, thank you, Liquidar. That's what it is. So I will smell that. But I would say that's got an advantage. That's been cooking for a while. It's probably got some dust that's
smoking up in there.
Yeah. So it's it probably smells pretty good. So. We'll see.
No whiffing.
Yeah. Tune into Discord. Hit me up over on Discord. I think you're on Discord. Yeah. Remind me, and I'll give it a little whiff for you. But we need to move over to viewer Q&A because we got that meeting that everybody needs to attend.
Mm-hmm.
We'll post the link in the show notes.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a question right now, get it into the chat at the Full Nerd Podcast, and hopefully we will see it. Or if you're watching or listening to this later, go into the description. I have a link in there for Discord, our fine folks over there, and then there is a channel for questions. You can put it in there at any time, and hopefully it will get read on a next show. I do feel like I'm missing, first off, there we go, a super chat from friend of the show, Coffee, gave us $5 Canadian. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Would you still be concerned about purchasing an Intel Raptor Lake CPU? I'm building a gaming PC for a friend and found a 13900K priced at $321. They don't. I'm going to assume that it's a brand new part. I don't.
Yeah.
So let's just assume that it's a brand new CPU.
I have an answer to this.
Yes.
That's pretty straightforward. If you're building this for your friend and you know enough to know that this is an issue and you can help them fix it and download the motherboard firmware and the CPU firmware and everything you need to do, I would not be worried about it.
Yeah.
I would be worried about it if I was just buying a new part off the shelf and I didn't know any of that. Like, I wouldn't go around recommending Raptor Lake parts to random people at this point because I think most people would never do that. But since you know enough to ask this question, I think your friend would be good to go if you can help them.
Yeah, update the BIOS. Make sure it's good, assuming that it is a new part. But
I have a question. How much was the cost of the chip again?
$321.
Okay, so I haven't looked at benchmarks, so I don't know exactly how it shakes out. But if you live near a micro center, the 265K is $300 right now. So that gets you onto a much newer generation. You can bypass all of that. Motherboard probably should be comparable. So unless you're doing like an upgrade or reusing another motherboard that you already have, that might be another way to go about it if you want to stick with Intel. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, for the gaming stuff, though, it sounds like this is for gaming specifically, though, and there still is that caveat of the real high-end gaming. So if it's a more casual gamer, maybe not too bad. But
I just think the cost of the all the other stuff that comes around, that the motherboard and the DDR5 right now is, the DDR5's gotten cheaper, but the motherboards.
I mean, the 1300K might be
actually
paired with DDR5 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, DDR5 is actually not that bad right now. And again, it's like I don't know how much room there is, wiggle room there is in that budget. I also don't know if they live near a micro center because that's also like what this hinges on. But I'm just saying there are other options to consider if you still want to stick with Intel.
Yeah. No. Good question. I like it. Thank you for super chat. I'm going to go over to the Discord now. We have a very good one by friend of the show, Datus. Says progress update on acquiring Tap's pie recipes.
He didn't send me any pie recipes.
We got them.
Oh, you did? You got the recipes?
Brad?
Yeah.
I tweeted them and blue skied them. They're not the exact recipes, but what he did send along was pictures of the pies and 2 articles that describe how to make that sort of deep dish crust really good, as well as an explainer of what sort of pans you want to use to perfect the kind of crust for those. So you still got to throw in the pie bits in the middle. That's up to you, whatever your pie recipe is.
He's keeping Tab's keeping that a secret apparently.
This is such but like that is such a mark of somebody who actually spends time cooking or baking, because like sometimes it seems like as a normie you're like, are you just not willing to share? Like, are you just trying to preserve like your special secret sauce about this? But I think having grown up with people like this, I think what happens is that they're just so in it that they're like, oh yeah, you just do this and you just kind of fill in the blanks, because to them filling the blanks is so easy. It's just like so commonplace for them.
Well, this is the thing I realized, because I converted all of our paper recipes to like a paprika file a few years ago, just so they would be on iPads and phones and we could share them easily.
Nerd.
And I mean, no duh.
I say that as a bad thing.
Yeah, but like when I was going through the recipes that I do a lot, like my apple pie recipe started as an America's Test Kitchen recipe, and then has like 350 words of notes scribbled in the margins on the side of the recipe so that I don't forget that I do ice water instead of this, and I put a teaspoon of vodka into the crust to make sure that it crisps up real nice, and like all these different things that I've done over the years. So yeah, I respect Tap for, it's complicated.
Well, listen, Tap, if you're watching, we're just gonna have to load up the backpack. Willis, get the camera, load up the backpack. We're going to your house. We're just gonna film you making the whole pie
making pies with Tap.
Exactly. There we go. New series.
I wonder
if you do want that info that he passed along, though, at Brad Charkis, BradChacos, on either Twitter or Blue Sky. I posted both.
Nice.
I was joking, like, is he going to be like, oh hey, buy a Battlemage, get a free recipe?
Yeah, that's probably too valuable, man. Yeah, that is too limited of an addition. But yes, a pie baking stream.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, like Jensen has the edge on taking video cards out of ovens. But if Tap whips a pie out of the oven, I'm going to be as excited, I think.
Yes. Yes.
I love a good pie.
Yeah. Maybe even more so. We'll see. I like it. Yeah. You're quick on the draw on that. I like it. Here we go. We actually were going to talk about some Microsoft news, but short show. Pyrocumulus asks, could we brainstorm some ways that Microsoft could do a worse job of simultaneously messaging that 1, you can update your unsupported Windows 10 PC to Windows 11 but don't; 2, you must update your Windows immediately due to 0-day; 3, Windows 11 24H2 breaks everything. Friend of the show, Pyrocumulus. What's going on?
What happened?
We actually have an article over on PCWorld that a lot of people went to. Please tell us.
We have a few articles on PCWorld about all of that. Windows 11 24H2, the big 2024 feature update. It works great when it works. There's a lot of edge cases where it doesn't work that they didn't catch in initial testing. They've been holding it for folks. And it's starting to get pushed out to more PCs now. A lot of those things are starting to get squared away, but there's been a lot of if you have certain ASUS machines, if you have these specific Intel drivers, if you use USB keys in this way, Windows update breaks it. So those are starting to get fixed. The part that this question is referencing is a week and a half or so ago, Microsoft made a point of saying look, we're never going to change our mind. These are the Windows 11 hardware requirements. You need TPM. You need all the stuff that we need. We're not changing that. And then earlier this week, we actually translated an article from PCWorld, which is PCWorld, our German colleagues. Same name, same brand, 2 teams, but we work together. Noticed that Microsoft posted a page just after saying we're never going to change this, saying that, hey, if you want to install Windows 11 on unsupported hardware, though, here's how you would do it. But here are the caveats for the reasons you should. So it's confusing.
So
you should still upgrade to Windows 11.
I have a machine that was upgraded to Windows 11 and then did not meet the requirements because I did a BIOS update and the TPM 2.0 module turned off by default, and I didn't realize I needed to turn it back on. Turning it back on made Windows unbootable, so I ended up reinstalling Windows on that machine, which was a frankly terrible experience. And the only reason I realized it happened is because I was stuck on 22H2 for a long time. And when I went to look and see, I was like, oh, I got your PC doesn't meet requirements for Windows 11 bug. You're not going to get any of the new updates. And also, we're end of lifing this particular branch in X number of months or whatever it was. I thought I was going to have to buy a TPM module, and then I dug into my BIOS, and there was actually a setting for it on, this is, I think, an X58 board. It's the 9900K, so it's an older machine, but it did have a 2.0 compatible TPM module.
Yep.
And it is the worst messaging I've ever seen from Microsoft of all time. And the fact that flipping on the TPM module is enough to render Windows completely unbootable with seemingly, I spent probably 2 or 3 hours futzing with it, and I was like, it's just easier for me to wipe this machine and start from scratch. Mm-hmm. And now it's running 24H2 and it's fine. But not a great experience, Microsoft.
Yeah. I do want to clarify something, Brad. There was a little bit of miscommunication. So are they rolling it back, or are they just saying, hey, if you wanted to, here's how you do it?
What they are saying is they said, we're not changing this. These are the requirements.
Okay.
And then earlier this week, they said, hey, but if you want to install Windows 11 on unsupported hardware, here's how to do it. You won't get Windows updates. You'll get a watermark, stuff like that.
Okay. So they have not reversed it. They've just
just
allowed.
It's so confusing too, because this to me seems like a rehash of what we saw a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, where they're like, you can't. Okay, you can. Okay, well, if you do it, all these things are broken. So honestly, when I saw this come out, I was like, this feels like, am I in a deja vu loop? Because this feels like we've already had this conversation. So I think they just keep circling this thing where it's like, they know there's probably millions of devices that are going to become incompatible, and they're going to become security risks. And the whole point of trying to get everybody onto Windows 11 is to improve security overall. So they've kind of got themselves in this rough position, I feel like.
I will say, oh, sorry, I thought you were done.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and honestly, it's one of the things that I plan to be writing about on the website about like just the security risk and all this, where, yeah, it's not a great situation because either you have to pay, you have to switch to Linux, or you have to buy new hardware. And none of those are great options for normies who are on a budget.
Sorry, Brad, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I just, it feels like they're getting themselves into the position they were in with Windows XP again, pre SP2, where they're saying, hey, we're washing our hands of a whole buttload of PCs, and there's going to be an enormous malware problem that it starts exploding the moment people stop getting security updates. And the fact that they're saying, hey, you can install this, but you're not going to get security updates, feels like it's not a solve for any of those problems. I wonder if this is them testing waters for rolling it, for rolling back the, hey, we require TPM2 for like maybe they'll roll back and say home doesn't require TPM2 or something like that, just to give more people an upgrade path.
I mean, I think enterprise is just as bad off though, because I mean, how many times do we see for like close to 2 decades XP terminals, right?
Yeah.
Where like the machine would go down, all of a sudden you're like, oh, they're still running XP.
Yeah, well, I feel like at this point, if you have like some industrial equipment that requires an XP machine, you probably air gapped that machine, and it's like you're mining old computers for hardware as those parts slowly die now. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like there's a bazillion old PCs in the world that are not going to meet the requirements next October.
For normal people though, like all this news article stuff is stupid. Like this is all silly and dumb. The way Microsoft has handled it. The practical upshot is Windows 10 is going to go end of life in October 2025, and you should update to Windows 11. I love Windows 10. I love Windows 10 compared to Windows 11. Now that I've used Windows 11 for a while, made a couple of little tweaks. We have, articles about that. It works just fine.
It's fine.
And just to be a shill for a minute, we actually sell pretty cheap Windows licenses in the PCWorld software store. And I don't know if this is supposed to be public. It might get me in trouble with people. But we're going to be taking like 20 or 25% off the week of Christmas. So they're already like $50, and we're going to be taking more money off it. So you should upgrade to Windows 11. Don't necessarily use our store. I'm just offering that because to me, that's one of the best deal on just legit Windows licenses that I know of. But just plan on upgrading to Windows 11. You don't want that headache.
Wait, so you're writing all these articles just to sell Windows 11 keys?
Windows 10 is so bad. Well, but like
we got made.
Theoretically, everybody who has a valid Windows 10 key has a free upgrade to Windows 11, right? Like I think my keys that I'm using currently started as Windows 7 keys and then became Windows 8 keys and Windows 10 keys and Windows 11 keys. So.
Yeah. A couple more questions and we'll get out of here. Daedus, friend of the show, Daedus, put this in here, I don't think as a question, but I'm going to ask it as a question. For normies on a budget, does this make the Mac Mini M4, especially on sale at $500? It scrolled away. Where'd it go?
The go-to for those users.
Yes, the go-to for those users. So...
my kid didn't come to me and was like, hey, Dad, can I have a Mac? She was like, hey, I want to play The Sims.
Also, I would say, over the Thanksgiving break, I got together with a bunch of family and my grandma, who's she's older, but she has a very old system. She's like, I don't even know what it is. She doesn't know what it is, but I was just like, well, do you know how old? And she's like, I was like, are we talking like 5 years? She's like, older. I was like, 10 years? She's like, older than that.
A Brian Eno opening chime?
I have no idea what operating system she's on or which version of Windows. I know she's on Windows, but I'd like, yeah. And so I was talking to her. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll help you out. We'll get you a new, some sort of new setup. What are you looking at? Budget? What do you think? And then, I was like, hey, she's recently also got into the Apple ecosystem. She got like an Apple Watch and things like that. And I was like, hey, listen, I'm not a big fan of it, but I do want to put it out there that you can actually get a Mac Mini for a good price. and it will help slot in that Apple ecosystem that you're getting into. Would you be open to that? And she's like, nah, I know Windows. I don't, especially at this age.
Wait
I'm
until
not
she
going to
sees Windows 10, 11. She's going to blow her mind.
Yeah, exactly. So
the internet is the E button on her desktop.
I did actually think when I asked that question, she would be like, oh, okay, well that makes sense. Like she would be the perfect demographic for that. She's literally just going all in, but she's like, nah, I know how to use, a Windows better.
I think she was just trying to test you. It's like, how could you not?
She was
be
a spy.
How could you not be a hardcore PC user?
Yeah,
she's in the Discord.
No, I was proud of her.
Yeah,
I was proud of her.
I'm obviously a Windows guy, but the M4 Mac Mini for $500, that's a whole lot of little computer right there for not a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I would say it's not uncommon. Like my mom's actually the exact same way as your grandma, where even though she struggles a bit with Windows, I would love to get her on Chrome OS, to be honest, because I think that would make life so much easier. But she does not want to do that because it's just going to be confusing for her because she's got it all memorized. I click on this button, I go here. My folders are on my desktop. I know how to access them, that kind of thing.
Good question, though. That does. There's no way that she's on Windows 11. I can almost guarantee she's not on Windows 11. So is Windows 11 enough of a jump from where she's at now that it would confuse her?
When my parents
Possibly.
moved from Windows 7 to Windows 8, it was real bad. Like that was when my dad
wasn't
bought an
just for your
iPad.
parents. It was for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, but
real bad.
But it was real confusing, and they had real problems with it. And my dad went out and bought an iPad, and that became his primary computer from that point forward. Now my mom stuck through and has ridden all the way through. Like she's probably Windows 10 now, and like Windows 11. Windows 10 to Windows 11 is nowhere near as bad as Windows 7 to Windows 8.
I will say she. So I asked her. I was like, "Do you want a laptop or what's your setup?" And she's like, "Oh, I have a laptop up in the attic. Like I never bring it out. This is for a." Like I think she has it like in her computer or something, just like that classic, grandma PC in the kitchen kind of thing. And I was like, well, what about an iPad? And she's like, actually, I have an iPad. She literally has everything Apple, but she still is like, I won't go with the Mac.
You should just get her a Mac and tell her it's Windows 11 and call it a day. Tell her Windows
just
11
cover up the
different.
logo.
Yeah, just
God,
put up
That'd
the
be
tape.
That'd be hilarious. No, because at the she'll see the login screen.
I will say though, for as much as we talk on the show about open ecosystem, Windows having flexibility, being able to control your hardware, et cetera, living in the ecosystem is actually pretty nice for a lot of I've seen friends and associates who do it, and you're like, oh, that is pretty seamless. That's actually kind of nice.
Yeah. My wife is a Mac laptop user, and I'm always jealous of her ability to just respond to a text message when she's sitting in front of the computer and type it in and have it go, and
with zero problems. Yeah.
Anyway, zero caveats.
Yeah, couple more things that we got to get out of here. A friend of the show, Coffee, gave us $6.99 Canadian dollars. Thank you so much.
Coffee.
I appreciate that. Asked if you were to buy a GPU now for 1440p gaming ultra wide, so not just 1440p, it's full 1440p ultra wide. Which one would you pick? Budget between $700 to $1,000 for the GPU alone, I think. It sounds like
yeah, it seems like
right.
Yeah.
Would like 16 gigabytes of VRAM for reasons.
Quote reasons
to mine all that Canadian dollars. What is it? What do you think? Between $700 and $1,000, what would you get right now with 16?
I would get, if you're looking in 16 gigabytes is what you need. I would get the it's in your budget. I would get the 4080. I'm not sure if the 4080 has 16 gigabytes.
Yeah, it's 12.
Yeah, that's right. But other than that, if you need 16, it'd be firmly in the budget. You can find it on sale these days, the 7900 XTX. Just shoot for as high as you can go. I personally would prefer NVIDIA just for the software features that in ray tracing and whatnot that it has. But the 16 gigabytes is a must-have. To think about 1440p ultra wide, think of that as a step between 1440p grunt and 4K grunt. It falls basically halfway in the middle. So you're going to need a pretty powerful graphics card. So I would go as powerful as you can get with 16 gigabytes.
Yeah, and actually, unfortunately, it looks like some of the high-end AMD stock is drying up a little bit. But yeah, you can get a XTX which has 24 gigabytes GTR 6 for. I mean, there's a Yeaston. It's the Sakura one, the one that's real pretty.
Oh, yeah.
$1,000.
So here's the XT with 16 gigabytes. To me, the 7900 XT is also just as good. Like, it depends on whether you want to save $300 or $200 or get a little bit faster.
And actually, you know what? It looks like the XT, the step down. Wow, those prices have skyrocketed as well. So yeah, I don't know. It looks like that stock's drying up. So maybe the real answer is wait.
I don't know if they were talking about Canadian dollars or US dollars too, because that would make a difference here.
I'm not going to do that math. I'm sorry, Coffee.
But
I think Coffee did the math for us.
Like, you can get an MSI 4070 Ti Super for $839 now too, which is if you're worried about DLSS and ray tracing.
Yeah, well, they've got reasons. So, Interesting.
The lowest I would go is the 7800 XT. I would not get a 4070. I'd start at 4070 Ti or 7800 XT.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and they did do the translation for us to USD. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'd go to. I like it. All right, last one, and then we'll get out of here. This is kind of a cool one that we can kind of hit real quickly. That kind of pertains to what we've been doing recently. Friend of the show, Sneaky, asks, why do we see less of reviewers using 3D Mark software to benchmark hardware these days? And actually, we did not use any 3D Mark in our testing. Brad, why didn't we do that?
I actually, through the 10 years or so I've been doing this, I have virtually never used 3D Mark. Sometimes I'll run it just for historical figures. But to me, it doesn't really tell you too much. Like, it could tell you theoretical performance for these GPUs, but in my experience, having a high 3D Mark score doesn't necessarily correlate to having good performance in games. So you only have so much time to test so many things during these review cycles, and I would much rather throw another game or two in on a different engine, a different genre, than test 3D Mark.
Also, there is a lot of hardware out there that will try to optimize for benchmarks specifically,
yes.
And it's like, okay, well, that doesn't. What is that actually giving you?
It's not representative of anything real. The one place I would use 3D Mark back in the old days when benchmarking was a little bit more challenging for a lot of reasons is for sanity check numbers. It's kind of the same reason we use Cinebench on the CPU side. Is just, the vendors provide a base set of numbers, and because 3D Mark doesn't give you a lot of configuration options for the runs, you can have something that you run it, you look at their number, your number is close to their number, you know that your system's configured right. You haven't done something stupid like turn off resize bar or something like that that's going to impact your performance. So,
and we actually do use 3D Mark in laptop testing, gaming laptop testing specifically, because once laptops are done, we have to send them back. GPUs we typically keep. They allow us to keep them to benchmark them again in the future. But laptops are very different from desktops in that, the form factor matters, the case matters, everything matters. And in that case, we find it just useful to have like that agnostic chart. Where does it fall on the list, even though we also test it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. All right, cool. We're going to get out of here.
I have a question.
Oh, you have a question.
Oh.
Last minute question coming in. Hot from Elena Yee.
What were the poll results? We don't know what everyone thought was which was the good.
1080 was the clear winner, I think.
Well,
we don't need to.
The way that Willis worded it, he said is the 1080 Ti
I
the
didn't
GOAT.
make the list.
So
next week we should do that.
Yeah. Next week
we're throwing out the poll results.
Yeah, these ones were tainted by Willis. He intentionally rolled a 1.
I have to wait.
Wow.
Yeah.
I will not take this Willis slander. I think Willis did a fine job.
So that's what you were doing, slipping some money under the table.
I think Willis did a great job. I have a bunch of Canadian chocolate over here for him.
I'll take poutine.
I didn't bring any poutine back. I'm sorry.
Right.
I didn't get any poutine when I was in Canada. I'm bummed.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we're getting out of here. Check back next week for your fix of PC building talk here on The Full Nerd. To listen to us on the go, you can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, Deezer. Is that what you signed us up for recently?
Deezers?
Yeah. I should look at the metrics to see if we have any listens from Deezer.
Anybody on Deezer?
I would be curious. If you are on Deezer or any of those platforms, please review the podcast. I would appreciate it. That would be your Christmas present to us here at The Full Nerd, and we would all appreciate it. The heart thing, just for you. And every time you do, Elena gets another free awesome Christmas sweater and rids us of the ability to have these awesome sweaters. That bums me out. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Brad Charkis, for not only being an awesome person, but for joining us on this episode.
No problem, Adam. I'm looking forward to kicking out the IDG fantasy football playoffs this weekend.
Wow!
I don't even want to bring it up, Mister. I somehow win every year.
Shades thrown.
Wow!
Anyway,
I won once.
Yeah, okay, I know, but you're always in the top. Anyway, leave some to us for the chuds. I want to thank Elena Yee for not only being an awesome person who looks cool with these cool sweaters, but for joining us here on this podcast. Thank you, Elena.
I will see you all twice next week.
Yes. Don't forget Tuesday for the best of, and Thursday for the predictions. Right? We're good for that, I guess. I think I confirmed. Yeah. Okay.
2 episodes.
Yeah, I think there's gonna be new video cards next year. That's my prediction right there.
Oh, too soon. Spoilers. Yeah, and that was.
Will understands how this works. Will. I love it.
Thank you, Will,
Always a pleasure.
for not only having an awesome beard, but for being here on the show today.
Hey, it's always a pleasure, sir.
Yeah,
always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching, and thank you, Willis, for driving the show with confidence like you always do. I appreciate you, and take us out of here.
All right, thank you, Adam. Friend of the show, Liquid R, earlier said Tap, Jensen, and Lisa Sue should have a pie bake-off with the full nerd as judges. Ooh. I say, let's make that happen.
I would eat those pies.
Yeah, that should be the 2025 prediction. So, yeah, let's do that. All right, thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. 1080 Ti for Go. 1080 Ti for Go.
It's a pony, actually.
$500.